This is Deconstructing Dating, a podcast where we, two matchmaker cousins and best friends, determine whether common courtship concepts are dating myths or dating truths. I'm Tiana.
And I'm Marnie. We'll settle all the age-old questions. Do you wait 3 days after a date to contact someone? Can you have too many deal breakers? Can you have sex on the first date?
Let's find out together and debunk the myths of courtship.
Because dating shouldn't be this hard.
Marnie, okay, imagine this, the 90s, right? Like were you dating in the early 90s? You were dating. And
I was.
You were. And this was the time of the rules. There was the movie Swingers Out. There was all these rules on what you should and shouldn't do in dates. And for those of us that were in our younger formative years, we grew up believing that these are the rules that we're supposed to follow. Like, if a guy likes you, this is what he's going to do. This is what he's not going to do. If you like somebody, this is what you're going to do. How do you think that even influenced you? And I think it's still common today. I think it's something we're passing down.
Well, it's also very hard to kind of break that habit, right? If you grew up believing, right? Let's say it's actually a core belief. So I grew up believing that, once you go out on a date, if you like someone, you don't call them for 3 days, right? You don't call them, you don't show any interest. Like, you just keep your mouth shut and pray that they contact you. That is bullshit. Now, as an adult, I know that that's not right, that's ridiculous and that's bullshit. And as a self-actualized woman, if I like a man and I go out with him, I'm going to call him the next day and thank him for the date or send him a little cute text or something, right? Because that's the right thing to do. But there's still that part of me that thinks, maybe you shouldn't do it. Maybe almost like a bad luck thing or something. I don't know.
It's just ingrained. And this is where, how often do we have to tell our clients this? It is literally a culture thing. These books and these movies, they really influenced us all. And how often do we have to tell our clients, like, no, don't even leave that first date without securing a second date if you want to see them again.
Right.
Like, throw that bullshit out the window.
Well, it's bullshit because if you like someone, if you're genuinely interested in someone, you should let them know. You should let them know. You shouldn't play games. You shouldn't try to manipulate the situation by, playing games and trying to be more desirable if I don't answer the phone on the first, whatever. Don't do that. Be a mature adult and show up as a mature adult in a relationship.
Yeah, there's all these rules about waiting the 3 days, about picking somebody up and dropping them off. It's a different world today. It's an
What
absolute
about not
different
having
world.
sex on the first night? Have you heard that? I grew up with that rule.
Please.
Like, you never have sex on the first night. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. How did that work out for either one of us?
We threw that out the window early.
Seriously. Yeah. On my last go round, I was like, nah, I'm trying it all out, man. I'm not even going to move forward unless that was the whole point.
Well, and it's even like advice that, like, right, I gave my daughter, right? Like, you want to give that advice to your children, like, don't have sex the first night, give it time. And yes, you should give it time. But again, we're talking about adults, right? We're matchmakers. We're matchmakers. We work with adults. The majority of our clients are over the age of 40. Actually, what would you say is our demographic, Tiana? We have clients from 29 all the way up to 72, but what do you think is mostly?
A majority is 50s and 60s, but we've got this also young demographic of 30-year-olds, 30 to 40, who are professionals who now want to settle down. Both of them have their own set problems with this kind of stuff, because the ones in their 30s, first of all, they're so used to. So not only do we have the rules that their parents ingrained on them, but they're business professionals. So everything is like rapid, right? Like rapid, immediate response. And so they add the rules on top of what our brain has now been programmed in rapid response. So what does that do to somebody if you meet somebody and you don't reach out to them for 3 days? In today's society, when we know that we can communicate with somebody in any given second, and then they don't hear from you, and it's like, well, I was busy all day. Nobody's that busy. It's so weird to me.
And Tiana, in our dating coaching, we teach our clients that people show you how they feel about you with their actions. So if we're working with our clients and we're saying, watch, your actions speak so loudly, I can't hear a word you're saying, right? When you're dating someone, look at their actions. If you go out on a date with someone and you don't hear from them for 3 days, I would have already moved on.
Well, and that's what's most important is that when you start this dating and you really put yourself out there and you have the intention of finding a long-term commitment, be authentic from the get-go. So if you feel like reaching out, man, woman, doesn't matter, reach out. If their way of communication isn't acceptable to you right from the get-go, talk to them about it, tell them, and give them a chance to correct it. But if they don't, then that's not your right mix. So be authentic.
Correct.
You shouldn't conform to the rules that they are putting out there because they think that's the way it should be. If you're going to be authentic and you're going to find your person, their style of communication, their style of feel, the way they feel about sex, the way they feel about intimacy, the way they feel about when you should introduce, family and
members.
friends. Those are also part of the rules,
Absolutely.
right? Remember the whole bring them around the friends and all this stuff?
Yep.
It should align. So actually do what's right from you from the beginning.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, everybody, welcome. We are going to get into it today. That is for sure. We have a very special guest, Julia Washington, who is the owner of Prose and Go. And the myth we are discussing is that you need to wait 3 days before texting somebody after a date. I cannot wait to get into that. But Julia, thank you for coming. Welcome. And would you like to tell us a little bit about Prose and Go?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I'm chronically single, so it's always exciting to talk about dating myths. So Prose and Glow is a company. We do cards, candles, books, and events. And all the cards and candles are designed by me. Everything is sort of literary themed, and our events are sometimes literary themed. I'm actually diving into doing dating events this year. So
we should talk.
That's right up our alley.
Right?
There's a new theme. Yeah. So everything is based on a book or caters to people who love to read. Because I am one of those dorks who love to read.
So this one's a dork too. I don't love to read, but she loves to read.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, great.
So
Well, we are excited to check that out for sure. Sounds interesting. We have a lot to talk about on that too. But today we are going to be discussing, like I said, the myth, the common myth, and we've all heard it, of that you need to wait 3 days before you text somebody after a date. Marnie, I just cannot wait to hear what you're going to say about this. Okay, here comes Marnie.
You're going to be surprised, but before I give you my 2 cents, I want to ask Julia, have you heard this myth? Has this advice ever been given to you, or have you ever heard this?
I have. Are either of you familiar with the movie Swingers?
I wish I was.
Tell us about it.
I wish I was. I'm not.
I think it came out, I think it was 1994 or 1995. Jon Favreau and then Vince Vaughn and a couple of other people too. And so basically the whole movie is about these guys in LA and they're trying to break into the industry and they're struggling. But on top of that, they're also like trying to date. So one of the characters meets this girl and he's like, oh, I'm so interested. Like, this is amazing. And Vince Vaughn's character is like, yeah, but don't call her tomorrow. And he's like, okay. And then he says, you gotta call her like in a day. And he's like, oh, okay, so I'll call her tomorrow, or I'll call her the day after tomorrow. And he's like, tomorrow and then a day. And he's like, I don't understand. He's like, really, actually, you should wait 3 days to call her.
Yeah.
So I was 12 years old when I watched that movie, which is like,
and it kind of stuck in your mind all these years.
Yes, like that is not a thing you need to tell somebody who's pre-pubescent.
No, but you know what? You developed what that's literally called, the clinical term for that is a core belief. And so at a very young age, you developed a core belief and that's just what you stuck with. However, my guess is that core belief no longer serves you. But we'll get into that. Yeah.
So this goes back to those old-fashioned rules. And when we talk about the rules, it's like how to rope somebody in, all of these old-fashioned, it's games. I mean, they say rules, but in my opinion, it's just games. It's just nonsense. And I'm also a believer that you don't do everything in every situation. So these general rules about anything like that just fascinate me. And I think they're mostly bullshit. And let's talk about how long you should wait after a date. And let's talk about it from not only like the women's perspective and the man's perspective. Because I think that they think about it a little bit differently.
I think it depends who it is, right? I mean, I think Tiana, what you said is very kind of right on. It's very case specific. And so, And what just keeps going through my mind are all these women who are carrying trauma from past relationships where they've been ghosted or they've been treated disrespectfully or they've been vulnerable and then made to feel ashamed for being vulnerable or their vulnerability was used against them.
Yeah.
So right, Julia? So when stuff like that happens, I'd be a little afraid to text somebody too after a date, right? I'd be a little gun shy.
Yeah, because also too that fear of like, I don't want to look too eager. Like if I look too eager, it's going to turn him off. And you're just kind of like, but if you're excited about the guy or girl, it's kind of like, what's that line from When Harry Met Sally? When the rest of your life, when you realize what you want the rest of your life, you want the rest of your life to start now. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that's kind of how it feels. But then you're like, but if it's
so we're
new,
relationship and dating experts, and we really, really encourage our clients to go for it.
To be bold.
We encourage them to be bold and to really, because to me, it's who you're presenting, right?
Yeah.
And so if I'm a confident, self-actualized woman, I should have no problem picking up the phone the next day and saying, "Hey, I had a really nice time last night." Or I know I'm an old lady. I guess I would text it.
Mine will be in a voice note.
Sorry, won't be a phone call, but God forbid. But it's like I would have no problem doing that, and the gentleman that's right for me would receive that.
Yeah, that's a great. Oh, I love that. That's a great point. Yeah.
Did you just say voice memo, Julia?
Yeah, I'm a voice note girly.
That's even a whole other level. Like,
what is that? I don't even know what that is.
Marnie, that's the things that we've been getting on the group texts from these other people where you go, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, it's like a text, but you listen to it.
Yeah.
Yes, they step outside and talk to us. I know.
Oh, I love it. I love it because it eliminates that confusion. Because, when you read something, you're like, what's the context? But if you get to hear it in my voice, then there's, the context. You hear my cadence, you get comfortable with, hearing my voice, all of those things. So I've been known to send those memes where it's like, oh, your 5-minute podcast from your best friend. Guilty. Yeah. I'm that girl.
Yeah. Well, what baffles me about that is, so we're talking about waiting 3 days after a date to text, but you're right. This translates into other things. We have so many ways of communication, right? Like some people don't even use text. They use the Instagram or the whatever that, all these kind of, the Instagram.
They use social media.
They use social media. Then, the older people, we might make a phone call. And now there's this whole voice memo thing, which scares me even more because if you think about it, okay, so I think about the old days where we used to have answering machines. And like, it was like, once you left a message, you were effed. You were right?
Screwed,
I mean, that was it.
I'm sure we've had numerous plans, Tiana, to break into somebody's house to erase voicemails.
Yeah. At some point, you just have to throw up your hands and go, I am who I am. Like, I couldn't break into enough houses. But then when we got cell phones and we got the option to like leave a voicemail and then you could be like, if you want to re-record this message, you can. So I remember when I was young and single and dating and you would leave somebody a voicemail because I don't even think texting was like optional on most phones at that point. That feature was fun to me, but then it gets intimidating because I'd leave like 4 or 5 or 6 because I'd keep wanting to redo them because I was like, wait a minute, that sounded a little weird. So for me, if we're talking about waiting 3 days to text somebody and the possible misconception of a text, I can't even imagine what the pressure of like one of those audio messages would be.
Yeah.
Can you unsend them?
So no, not to my knowledge. I've never tried, but you can if you start to record it, it used to be when you would record it and that was it. You had to hit send. Like there was no option to delete it. Now you do have the option to clear it out and start over, which is so nice because sometimes the first draft isn't the right draft.
Right.
It's like writing the angry letter to the person so you can throw it in the fire or rip it up. Sometimes you just have to let it rip first and then you get to the meat and potatoes of what you actually want to say.
Exactly. Just got to get the jitters out, right? Like I would because if I'm into somebody and I've had a really good time, I definitely want to be like, oh my gosh, that was so fun. Let's do it again. Let's schedule it right now, which can feel very intense for people. But I love the feature where it's like, okay, that was my first draft. Let me start over because now that the energy is sort of settled, I can try again.
Do you have any examples, Julia, of when you haven't waited the 3 days? And you have gone for it.
Yes,
Okay, tell us about that.
Oh gosh, it's been such a long time. Okay, so about 10 years ago, a really good friend of mine, so I live about an hour and a half outside of San Francisco. And a friend of mine for her birthday was like, we're going to go to San Francisco. We're going clubbing. And I was like, oh, sounds great. Okay. So we do. And a friend of hers husband brought a friend who was like recently going through a divorce, and like we just hit it off. It was such a good night and like completely unexpected, right? Like I was expecting to be the quote unquote fifth wheel because everyone was coupled and I was the only single girl in the group, which is literally my story. And it was, we just had such a great time. We had so much fun. We made out on the dance floor.
Yum. Love that. I love a good dance floor make out.
Right? Yep. It's so good. And then the next day on the drive home, I was like, I had said something like, oh, I hope he texts me. And then my friend was like, what? And I was like, okay, you're right. And so I sent him a text. I was like, hey, I had so much fun last night. Would love to get together again. Like, let me know. Because he had come in from Marin County, which is north of San Francisco. And so I live east of San Francisco. So it's definitely like we have to coordinate this. But I was that moment of like, well, I don't actually want to wait because there's a lot of planning involved if I want to see you.
So let me ask you about this. So you were already hoping that he would text you. Mm-hmm. But if he would have texted you first, do you think your opinion would have changed either way? Do you think it takes a little bit of the chase away? Or have you, okay, so let's answer it in that question. Then I want to ask you a time where you didn't hear from a guy right away, and did it make you want him more, or did it actually piss you off? So 2 different questions there. Boom.
Okay, so your first question, that's a great question. I've never thought about it because he really did have like a lot of the things that I was looking for, like in terms of personality and just in terms of like stability, because like I have a track record of dating musicians.
Got you.
And like he had like he had like a math degree, you know, from like an Ivy League, and I was like, okay, yeah, sign me up.
He has a job.
Yeah, he has a job. But outside of that, like he was very sweet. He was very kind. Like he was very considerate of just everyone in the group because, you know, it was not a girls gone wild situation, but all the kids were left at home. So the parents were definitely having more fun. And he was very much like, we're also still going to be safe.
Yeah, he was a wrangler. He was the cat wrangler that night. That's it. Yeah.
So cute. Like that was actually kind of hot. And so I think I'm trying to actually remember. I think it would have been fine if he texted me first, but my friend was like, I'm sorry, who are you? You aren't the girl who waits. And I was like, oh yeah, actually you're right. Let me do that.
And that's also the difference in generations.
And how did it go? How did he respond?
Oh, he was thrilled. He was like, oh, I was actually going to text you. And I thought, thank you for acknowledging that you were going to do that too, because that's also part of it, right? Like, did I just come off too eager? And then now you're like feeling obligated to respond to me. But he was like, he followed it up with like, oh, I'm so glad you texted. I was going to text you too. I really wanted to like take you to like, and he listed some like fancy steakhouse. And I was like, no, which is fine if that's your thing. But I was like, we will find a local spot to go and have a cute little first date. And we did.
Irish pub. Okay, and to my second question, has there been a time where you met a guy that you liked and he didn't text you right away? He waited a day or 2 or 3, and how did you feel about that?
I feel like that's online dating life where you're just like, oh, this is such a cute guy. Like we have really good banter. And then like, but it takes so long to get a response because
they're talking to 15 women.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for the next best thing and they're talking to 15 women.
Yeah. Correct. And then recently I found this, and I recently in like the last 3 months, but then for this year, I was like, and we're done with dating apps. I can't do it anymore. There was somebody, we had really good banter and he lived nearby. And I was like, hey, like there's this really great thing happening at the bookstore. Wouldn't it be so cute if this was our first date? Because it's low pressure. Like we can meet there, you know, they have a bar, like, and if it's a vibe, it's a vibe. And if it's not, it's cool. Like we got to spend an afternoon in a bookstore. Blocked me.
Wow.
I was like, that feels real bad.
Okay.
Wow.
2 thoughts around that. You had me at bookstore and bar. Like, why do I not have one of those down the street? I would be there
I don't know.
every
Tiana,
freaking
I'd
day.
never get her out.
No, that's just where we'd have all of our meetings, Marnie. Just come find me in the corner. Number 2, why do you think he blocked you? What about that? Did he block you?
My immediate thought was like, oh, I was too bold. That was my
like
immediate
the
thought.
timing of it, or was it the message of it that you actually like named a place, or was it that you wanted to do it soon? What do you think?
I honestly, I don't know, because I said, and I took a screen grab of the message and I sent it to my friend. I was like, I just sent this message to this really cute guy. Like, we would take such cute pictures together. Plus, like, our banter in the texting exchange has been really good. Like, this is exciting. I'm excited about this person. I feel like maybe like bringing him home wouldn't be a problem either, right? Like, and she read it and she was like, oh, this is a great first message. And she also dates a lot. So I felt like that was my audience to bounce off this message, right?
You know what, though? You're making up. We could sit here and come up with 15 million different reasons why. It could be something as simple as he met another girl that 2 minutes later and, got distracted because he saw something shiny.
Yeah.
I mean, we have no idea. It could be that he's married. Who the hell knows?
That's true.
Honestly, you
but
never know.
The blocking just feels so final
It's
and mean.
It's rude.
Blocking
I agree.
mean.
It's a very solid boundary.
Either way, he is not the right guy for you, obviously. Yeah. I mean, that is just not okay. Marnie, where do you think that this core feeling of waiting, and I'm going to talk from a women's perspective, and then I'd love for us to talk about men as well. But where do you think this thing of the whole, we meet somebody, we have a magnificent time, and then that just feeling in your gut while you're waiting for some sort of reach out for them. Where does that come from? How do we manage it?
So I would take a look at how big that feeling is, right? And are your expectations, are they reasonable? Are they realistic expectations? I mean, if you just met somebody, if you've never even met somebody, right? And you're talking to them online and you could develop a connection and you have one, even if you have a bombastic evening where there's sex, right? And you have a great night, you spent 4 hours with this person, right? And so, yes, you'll get the feelings, you'll get the dopamine, you'll get the serotonin, but you have to keep it in check too. You've really got to keep it in check.
When you were single, Marnie, and I know it's been a long time, but you had some dating. Did you ever experience that where you met somebody and then they took a while to reach out to you, or did you act first? Were you bold?
I've actually done a reel on this. I am a bold flirter.
Yes.
And there's passive flirting and aggressive flirting. I am a very aggressive flirter. And so I also teach people for a living that others will show you how they feel about you with their actions. I tell this to my ladies all the time. The men, if you don't have to wonder how they feel, they'll show you. They'll show you, right? And so that's kind of how I feel, in regards to that front.
I remember when I was single just a couple years ago after being in a 15-year long relationship, and I was having a lot of fun out there, man. I was having a lot of fun organically meeting people off of Tinder. Marnie and I were like on Tinder all day long. It was fun. It was a game for us.
So much fun.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
It was so
Tiana was
much fun.
Tiana was like my little Tinder puppet. And I was like manipulating all these men's brains. It was fantastic.
She's like, you should go meet this one. I'm like, I don't like that one. She's like, yeah, you do. Go. Yeah. You're meeting him at 6:00. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. I better go get ready.
Okay. That's kind of the best.
But that was
fantastic.
Good. But it was funny to me. The way I felt is even if I didn't like the guy and didn't want to see him again, even after coffee or whatnot, I wanted to be the one, like I wanted him to reach out to me and I wanted to be the one that had to say. There was just something in me. I don't know if it's power, if it's control, if it's fear of rejection, but
it's fear of rejection and it's a sense of security. Nobody likes to feel like they're being rejected or that they're not wanted, Nobody likes that, but that's the risk you take when you date. That's the risk you take when you put yourself out there.
Yeah. And here's my thought about waiting 3 days. Nobody is that busy. We make time for what we want. Marnie, we set up these clients and it was the most magnificent setup. And we were talking about a CEO and a CFO of two very, very busy companies who barely could make time for the date. They were texting, they met for coffee. They texted the entire rest of the day and always since. Yeah. And they're busy people. So I'm telling you, if you have interest in somebody, you will make the time. Nobody's that freaking busy. I had another friend Marnie knows who this is, and she met a guy. And they ended up going out and they had a nice night together or whatever. And then he does this whole bullshit of, well, I'm going out of town for 5 days, so I'll hit you up when I get back. No. Guess what? You have a cell phone. You have international plans. I don't care where you're, especially if you're going on a boys' golf trip, you can send a picture from the golf course. You can send a thinking about you. Can't wait to see you when I get back. Like, there's a way to do that. So
I have to tell you, Tiana, too, when I was single, if I was dating and someone waited 3 days to call me or text me, I would be done. I have to be the star of the show. And again, I'm teaching these men how I want to be treated. And I waited until I kissed all the frogs I needed to kiss until I found my prince who was willing to treat me in the manner of which I wanted to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we teach them. But I was not going to be, if you like me, you better let me know and really lay it on thick.
Julia, do you like that? Do you like to be pursued? Do you like to be?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Listen, I grew up every time calling my grandparents, they would get on the phone and say, hello, nickname, which I'm not going to say.
Yeah.
Are you still pretty? And that's how my grandparents would greet me on the phone. So that's the minimum energy you need to bring to this relationship.
I love
you
that.
have to I'm not saying I'm a princess, but I'm saying
I got
you
it.
need to bring the energy of you are so you value the fact that beauty standards aside, you value the fact of what I bring to your life. And your opening line is something that just reaffirms that.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Every single time I'd call my grandparents, hey, are you still pretty? And you're just yeah. And then just into okay, tell me about you and your day. And it was a mutual respect situation. So I feel very lucky that I had an early formative relationship in my family that was this is the basic standard of how you should be cared for and treated.
Yep.
Well, and when we talk about the couples of yesteryears, especially when we're talking about grandparents and great-grandparents' age, if you think about it, the courtship was very, very short. And I worked in hospice for many years, and I would hear stories all the time of people that have been married for 70 years, and they were like, yep, we met, we got married 6 weeks later. They didn't wait. They didn't play around. It was, you grew up, you started work, you got married, you had a family. And, look at the divorce rates from that generation. And that could be multifaceted. But, when we're talking about this whole waiting game and, we can call it game, rule, whatever it is. I think in today's day and age where we are so quick, everything is immediate response, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just even here on this
instant gratification.
Instant gratification. I've been talking to you lovely ladies for 20 minutes. I have somebody already saying did you get my text? You sent it 5 minutes ago. You can wait. And it's not anything important, I assure you. So, when we talk about this rule of having to wait these days, in my mind, that's a game. That's not a rule. And it's not something you do to somebody that you like. You don't do that to somebody that
if you like somebody. And here's the other thing too, is if you put yourself out there and you're the one that texts, whether you're the female or the male, and you like that person, you run the risk of them not liking you back. Isn't it better to know?
Yeah.
I'd rather know right then and there.
Same.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's not even get started with this. I'm not going to chase you this whole relationship.
No. Yeah, because that's not fun.
No,
I want a mutual situation. I chase, not the chasing, but I have affection
mutual
for you.
Chase.
Yeah, that feels so much better.
It's not breadcrumbing, but it could lead into a form of breadcrumbing. Think about it. Let's say I like this guy. I go out with this guy and I like him a lot, and I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting on bated breath for him to friggin' text me. And day 4, he texts me, and I'm so excited. I get the dopamine rush. I get the serotonin. I get the oxytocin, right? I'm running high. I'm elated. And then I don't hear from him again for 2 more days. But then I get another text. He ropes me back in. That's called breadcrumbing.
Yeah.
And a lot of men do this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A lot of men will do
that's
this.
Scary, Marnie. And that leads me back to what I hear you say every day is that you teach people how to treat you. If you accept that from the beginning, why would you ever expect it to change?
Correct.
If you're accepting being 20th on their list, guess what? That's where you're going to stay. And again, nobody's that friggin' busy.
Yeah.
No. We all have the same 24 hours in the day.
And I like what you said about even if you're not interested in somebody. I kind of had a rule because I'd heard so much about ghosting before I started dating again when I was single. And I was really scared to get ghosted. And I can't think of, I don't know, maybe it happened or not. I don't know. But even if I met somebody and I didn't have interest in continuing the relationship, I would always do what I called like the courteous text of, it was great to meet you. I don't feel like we have that kind of connection. I wish you the best. It's just a form of closure. And I actually think I got a similar message or two like that once or twice. And I was just like, kudos to you. I wish you the best too. And that's kind. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to follow this rule of waiting to engage somebody, what's your goal? What's your goal? So from a woman's perspective, it could be to look coy and to get chased, but does it also look like you're disinterested or that you'll actually accept that behavior?
So there's also an older generation of women, though, that would feel that that's very forward. I can guarantee you, if we got my mother on the show, she would tell you, don't you ever text anyone after a date. Never.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So think about it from that perspective. Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Generational.
Yep.
You're absolutely right. And if we are talking, okay, so this movie that you referenced was in 1994. So we were a wee bit more evolved then, but cell phones weren't all over the place then. And we still had a lot of that, but it could be possible that you could leave something on a machine and somebody doesn't get it all day long. Although we all used to call, you know what? I also call bullshit on that because we used to call in and check our messages a million times a day. Like if you think a guy's going to call you, I would check my messages a million times a day. And at one point in college, I was dating 3 guys with the same name, very casually, and they would leave messages and I was like, shit, which one is this? Like, I didn't even know which one to call back. That's a whole other topic, but that was a lot of fun.
Love it. I love it.
I do not miss answering machines.
Well, there's even a scene in the movie where he's like continuously calling and leaving a message. And I'm pretty sure I'm remembering this correctly. It's been a minute since I've seen the movie where she calls back and she's like, you have to stop calling. Because he just keeps, he got a response. He rambling in the answering machine, like, hey, like, this is, but he's like, oh my gosh, that was the worst message. I need to redo it, before the days of being able to redo messages, right? And
that's so funny.
So just like jab in the heart because he's just like this sweet little puppy who's just like, I'm so excited.
That is so cute. Oh, poor thing. But that does lead to the other end of the stick, which is where I think we all fear, men, women, all of it, is being seen as too eager or too needy.
Yeah.
So let's identify what that looks like when you just get down that roll, like multiple texts without a response. Like, Marnie, don't you say it all the time? No response is a response.
Yeah. It's a response. It's a boundary. Okay. People are trying to set boundaries with you. And if they don't, people also get to choose how they want to exit a relationship. And yes, ghosting is horrible. It's a horrible thing to do. But if someone chooses not to, have a conversation with you, you have to accept it and move on.
And I wonder if there's like fear in that of like, I don't know how to say to this person, like, hey, this isn't a match. I'm not feeling it.
There's fear. And then there's also reservations because there's in the back of their minds, they're thinking, well, what if I don't meet anybody else? Maybe I will come back to this one. I mean, it's all a game. Yeah, it's all bullshit.
I hate that is such a good point. You're 100% right. I mean, everybody's looking for the next best thing, but most of us are smart enough to know that sometimes there's not. And that's a scary thing.
Yeah. Isn't that what swiping's all about?
Yeah, it is, but it's like swiping is just so exhausting.
I know, it's horrible.
It's horrible.
Really is. Yeah.
Unless you're Marnie on my app, then it's the best day of your life. She would spend 4 hours swiping on my app.
The best game you can do if you are the single friend in the group is to hand it over to your partnered friends and be like, you decide because I'm tired.
I had a blast. I was just messing with men all day. It was fun.
Yeah, but that's what Marnie calls but that's what Marnie calls the board of directors, right? Like if you get to a point where you don't really trust your picker anymore, then you have to hand it off to the board of directors. That's an okay thing to do.
Yep. I run all major decisions by my board of directors.
Absolutely. Love it. That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. So, there are a lot of people who will also use that 3-day rule as a game. It's to kind of give you the illusion, that they're so busy or they've got so many other dates or, you're not really at the top of their list. It's a form of manipulation is what it is.
It's an absolute, yeah, you're right. It is a game. And I think that there might be outliers, right? There are people who just don't like to communicate that much. And again,
but you can, even if you don't want to have like a 3-sentence text message, you can send a message to just say, thinking of you, or even just a smiley face to let someone know you're thinking of them.
You're absolutely right. Unless you meet that off person who actually feels the same way. Like they don't want to talk for a couple of days. And there may be random people that are still out there that don't want or don't need constant communication. But the 3-day thing is a game. I totally agree with you. It's a game, but there are different people that want different things. But the whole 3-day and this rule, and it's a fact for everybody, and it's it's just what you do to create the chase. Why?
Why?
Jen, I think you just said it. In a healthy relationship, the partners meet each other where they're at.
Yes.
That's what a healthy relationship looks like.
Yeah. When I have a friend who will apologize, like, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't respond right away, And I finally had to tell her, like, hey, girl, I'm texting you when I'm thinking about you because I'm thinking about you. I get distracted. I'll think I respond. I'll think I hit send and it didn't happen. And then I feel bad because I need you to know that you were in my mind. And you can respond at whatever pace works for you. And, her response back was thank you. I've never been given that kind of permission before because, again, to all of your points, we are in such a quick response society when it comes to communication and texting that there is that pressure to go, go, go. But I also think there's some value in taking a moment to have a breather to regulate your emotions if you are having some kind of day or overly excited. I have no chill. Text me right now and I will text you immediately back.
Me too. Lock 9.
Yep.
But I
believe it's called the lack of boundaries. I'm right there with you, sister. Yep.
But I just felt like, oh gosh, yeah, we are in sort of this weird cycle of you have to respond immediately right now or you hate me. But also to the other side of that, it's if you're intentionally waiting 3 days, it's 100% a game. There's a balance that you have to find in that relationship with that person.
That's a really good point because we all have those friends where we're like, well, you can text them, but they'll be back to you in 2 days. But we understand them. We understand the relationship. The boundaries are set. There's no disrespect. There's just people that are like that. And I wonder if sometimes, because I've done this before, I would say in a business setting, but it applies to dating. So let's say you're courting somebody and you go out on this great date and they actually, it's not like the hi, I hope you're having a good day. But let's say they say something like, hi, I had a wonderful time. What was your favorite part of the date? And it's
Cute.
a thoughtful question, but there are people that are overthinkers and analytical and they don't want to answer the wrong thing. So, there's a natural delay. It in 3 days. Let's be clear.
So is that a deliberate open-ended question? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that there's times where a small delay may be warranted because somebody really wants to think about the right way to answer it.
Absolutely.
Well, but it's small. It's small. Yeah. It's not 3 days.
Right.
It's not 3 days, but it's small.
It's a pause to think.
Yeah. I would die. Marry me now. If a date asked me that question, I'd be like, all right, when are we getting married? City Hall? Yeah. Right down the street? It's so cute. Let's do it.
Oh, take note, listeners. That's the marry me question. Just after the first date, if you're interested, say, do that. Hi, I had a great time. What was your favorite part of the date? Lock you into the second date. I love that. And you brought up a great point earlier, Julia, which actually it doesn't eliminate the waiting or texting 3 days. It actually adds another factor to it. So let's say you're on a first date and it's great. And, it's a Tuesday night and you make plans for that weekend. You're already locking in that second date while you're on the first date. What's the follow-up etiquette in between those dates?
Oh gosh. Okay. So in my lived experience with that guy kissing on the dance floor, we literally were texting the whole time in between. And that was really nice too, because again, we were long distance. So we were able to sort of get to know each other in that way. And I personally love texting and with people that I'm in relationships with, whether it's friendships or romantic. So like, even if we have a next date planned, I still want to be able to talk to you, but not like overwhelmingly so. I still want to be able to like, oh, this made me think of you and send you a thing kind of vibe.
Yeah, I think that that's where you keep the banter going. I would be terribly disappointed if I made a follow-up date with somebody and then they thought because we had a follow-up date that there needed to be no communication in between.
Yes.
I would be,
oh gosh.
That's part of long foreplay. I mean, that's part of what makes, relationships spicy and good is the lead up, the build up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, the excitement around that second date and talking about the things that you want to do that you didn't get to do on the first date and, asking some of those questions that sometimes are comfortable behind the screen and not so much in person. And even a little banter. Have you ever had this experience too, where like you will meet somebody on an app or whatever it is, and they've got this great banter message wise, and then you meet them in person and they're like, do, do, do. Yes. I mean, just no in-person swag, but it's what happened to you? Let's just go back to texting. Like I liked your texting. This is a major, major disappointment in person.
Right. I think it's important to connect, especially in a playful way early in a relationship. Yeah. And if you, again, we go back to the two equal and willing participants. I mean, there's nothing better than when you lob out a ball and it's received and returned.
Oh, it's such a great feeling.
It's the best feeling in the world. So
wait, can I tell you guys a story about my grandparents?
Please.
So my grandparents met in 1938 or 1939, I can't remember. And they met at a wedding. And my grandmother was a bridesmaid and my grandfather was like transfixed on her. He was just like, who is this gorgeous woman? They were married for 60 years and without fail, my entire life that they were with us, he would always retell the story about the first time he saw my grandmother.
Oh.
And like just how beautiful she was and just what she was wearing and just how he was like, I have to meet her. I have to know her. Yeah, 60 years, 5
That's
kids,
amazing.
8 grandkids, a grip load of great grandkids later. And so that also was formative to me because to the point about best foot forward, it was like, we got to look good on a first date because this man could be telling the story in 60 years.
Well, you've also got, so you've not only do you have grandparents who greet you every single time they speak to you with hello, beautiful, or are you still beautiful? Mm-hmm. You've also had grandparents who have modeled a very, very healthy, beautiful, romantic relationship for over 60 years.
And that takes consistent effort and commitment and willingness, and it evolves. I mean, can you imagine all the changes they saw over 60 years?
Oh, well, sure, yeah.
I mean, lots and lots of compromise and pain and tears and laughter and all kinds of stuff. It's a lifetime.
Well, it was just, lifetime. Here's this tiny little man who's, in his 90s at the time, just like, oh my gosh, your grandmother's so, and like just retelling the story, just,
it's so
it was
sweet.
Just so romantic and sweet. And you're like, that's literally what I want.
Yeah, but that, you know what, sweetheart, that's what you deserve. That's exactly what you deserve. We all deserve that.
You've seen it's possible. And, even though we talk about the dating myths on this show, it's still appropriate for people in relationships because truthfully, successful relationships never stop dating. Like when you're telling me that about your grandparents, like he courted her and she charmed him for the entire duration of their marriage. Yeah. And it makes me think of before I retired and broke up with my relationship of 15 years. And I guess at that point, we'd probably been together, I don't know, 12 years, 12 years, I don't know, 10. That's how bad I am. Anyhow, I used to travel on the road with these 3 guys, my business partner and these 2 other guys in our company all the time. And we would take off on a Monday and it would be like a 3 or 4 city ramble and it would be crazy. And 2 of those guys who had been married for a very long time, 30 something years, every day we would get back out of our meetings and we'd get back to the hotel and we'd start making our plans for dinner and they'd be like, okay, give me 20 minutes. I got to call my wife.
Love.
Okay. And then it was like, we'd get done with dinner and be like, okay, it's like some of the guys go to the cigar bar. Being a woman, the only woman in the field, I always go to the cigar bar. That's another tip, business ladies. But they'd be like, okay, I'm going to go call my wife. And then you'd go to get in the van the next morning for the meetings. And they were like, oh, I just got off the phone with my wife. Guess what's doing? And I used to think, God, are you whipped? What is wrong with you? I would travel for 4 days and not make one phone call. Well, my relationship ended, right?
Yeah.
My husband was in Vegas last week and he FaceTimed me from a trade show.
Oh, I love it. We love to see it.
And then he was so miserable without me, he came home a day early.
Oh, I love it.
That's what, and this is 11 years, like this is the kind of stuff that we're looking for.
Yeah. So it's not just about a first date and waiting to communicate after a first date. It's setting that precedent and feeding your relationship in that constant communication the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So now I'm wondering, what is our consensus here? Today we discussed the myth of waiting 3 days to text someone after that first date or the meet and greet or whatever it is. Ladies, what's our consensus? Is this fact or fiction? Did we bust this myth?
I think we all agree that this is a complete bullshit myth. Yes. Do we agree, ladies?
I think we beat the shit out of this myth.
Agree.
I think we whipped it with a stick, stabbed it with a knife.
Plenty of evidence to support our opinions and our stance.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you ever consider doing that, this is our stance on it, everybody. So, Julia, we just want to thank you again so very much for joining us. It's just a pleasure to talk to you. I'm sure we will have follow-ups, and I can't wait to check out your beautiful line at Prose and Glow. So
thank you so much for having me. This was so delightful to talk about.
Yeah, I'm going to check out one of those candles. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, please do. Everything is clean. Everything I make, like all the candles are clean. They burn clean. The scent is clean. So you shouldn't get a headache or any of that stuff that can come with it. And
I'm going to order one today. I'm doing it, Julia.
and I already know which one she's going to order for me. It was the one that Chris said something about find your girl that matches your energy so you can fuck shit up. Is that what it says? Something like
that's
that? I
Tiana's
already
candle.
know that's going to be in my mailbox from Marnie.
Yeah.
Correct.
I know it.
It's coming your way.
All right, great. Marnie?
Yeah. So if anyone wants to find out more information about us, you can find us at www.mymindfulmatch.com, or we're on all the major social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Look for My Mindful Match.
Excellent. All right.
Have a beautiful day, Julia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
Bye, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.